If there's anything you want to see specifically in the video, I'm going to put chapter markers in the video itself so that you can just jump around to where you want to be. But obviously the intent and the goal is for all of the video to be enjoyable. So enjoy, and let's get into the video. The 2022 Apple Watch Ultra is ultimately the Apple Watch I wanted Apple to make since 2015. And by that I mean just a bigger watch overall. Obviously I'm not the intended market, but I also am someone who's looking for a bigger watch that didn't want to stray away from the Apple Watch ecosystem. The purpose of the video is to document my experiences with the Apple Watch Ultra since its release in September 2022. So first and foremost, what I want to do is revisit the common features that are found on each of the Apple Watches, which is the system in a package, CPU that's in each of the Apple Watches. So we're on the S8 series of the CPU. We got the always on display on most of the actual line, with the exception of the Apple Watch SE. You have a glass cover on the base aluminum Apple Watch along with aluminum body. Then you have the steel body along with a sapphire cover on the screen. And then you have finally on the Apple Watch Ultra a 49mm LTPO always on display with a sapphire cover. And then each of the Apple Watches feature a ceramic covering on the back of the watch covering all the sensors, and just adding that additional protection. Ceramic, historically is a bit of a tougher material to break, along with the sapphire covers. So that's why they use it, especially on all of the Apple Watches. What sets the Ultra apart from the rest of the lineup, obviously in addition to the titanium body, is you have a couple of additional sensors. So first off, you have a depth sensor for divers, you have additional GPS radios for precise location determination, water temperature sensor, louder speakers for the siren feature, and a couple of ultra exclusive watch faces that can actually turn different colors, specifically that international orange. And then if you turn the dial, you can actually get a red color on the custom Ultra watch face. Now, how I've used the Apple Watch over the last 5 months isn't exactly the way Apple markets the Apple Watch Ultra. All of the marketing materials, even on their website, is all geared toward extreme sports, climbers, extreme weather, surfing and climbing, all that fun stuff, things that I don't necessarily do. I've used the watch primarily for notifications, because I work a regular 9 to 5. So my job isn't necessarily in extreme sport. Sometimes it feels like it. But either way, I haven't used the Apple Watch Ultra the way it was intended, but the Apple Watch Ultra as it's made is particularly perfect for me, and I'll explain why. Now, of all the features, it's geared toward the extreme sports. For me, there's no extreme sports. I mainly just play basketball Sunday mornings. I'm a father of 3. And then again, I work a 9 to 5. So, again, those are extreme sports. I don't do hiking. I don't necessarily run anymore. Just, again, play basketball Sunday mornings. That's my cardio. And then lifting my twins can really get quite a workout, get your heart rate up a little bit. Now, what I really want to talk about is some of my favorite features of the Apple Watch Ultra. First of those features being that 49mm display. Now, if you've been following along with the Apple Watch, or if you're a new user, from the very base Apple Watch, from the very first one in 2015, that came with a 42mm at its biggest and a 40mm watch or case. And honestly, 42mm for me was just, it looked comically small on my wrist. I'm a bigger guy. I'm 6'4", 300 pounds. So on me, a regular size iPhone looks small. A regular size Apple Watch, 42mm, 44mm, now 45mm, looks comically small. So for me, getting a bigger watch was important just because of what I desired in a watch, just a bigger watch to look appropriate for my wrists, and everybody has their own, particular taste. There's people who want gigantic watches. That's not me. I just want an appropriate looking watch for my wrist. Now, the display comes in at 2000 nits. It's very bright. It's the brightest Apple Watch that's ever been released. It is an extremely crisp display. It is an LTPO display, so it's always on. It's a low temperature polymer OLED, I believe that's what it means. But overall, you don't have to worry about burn-in or anything of that nature. It's a very low refresh rate on the display when it's on the always on mode. But overall, that display is bright, it's vivid, the colors look great, and then I love the watch faces that actually feature that international orange color. Now, one last little tidbit on the Apple Watch display is I was going from a Series 4 to a Series 7. The Series 4 didn't have the always-on display, and I think for me, in my particular use cases, the always-on display was clutch. You know, when you're in meetings, you can kind of glance at your watch at the time, or you can look at notifications coming in without giving a signal to everybody around you saying, I'm not listening, or I'm not paying attention to you, or I'm trying to rush you off or brush you off. So the always-on display was kind of clutch for me and something I really wanted. But again, an always-on display on the Series 5 didn't warrant me upgrading for that specifically alone. Now, again, going from a Series 4 to a Series 7, there was all these new features, new sensors, and things of that nature. But then the Apple Watch Ultra was announced in September, and I was like, I knew I needed that. More of an exception to my own rule, which is, you know, I'm not going to buy an Apple Watch every year just because I buy the higher end Apple Watch for durability. I know I'm pretty rough with my watches, and a steel and sapphire Apple Watch is going to last me much longer than anything else. And with the Apple Watch Ultra, the intent is to just stick with this for some time. I don't think they're going to add any major features or anything like that to the Apple Watch Ultra anytime soon, so I think I'm pretty safe in sticking with this watch for a couple years. Battery life. You know, that's all I really have to say. If you're a user of the Apple Watch Ultra or someone looking to get an Apple Watch Ultra, you've had an Apple Watch in the past, or you're moving on up from an base model or Steel Series going up to the Ultra, battery life has been an absolute game changer because it adds a little bit of functionality to me personally. In the past, Apple bought a company called Beddit, which allowed them to do a little bit of sleep tracking. Now, the problem with the Apple Watch is, the Series 8, Series 7, so forth and so on, is the battery is rated at 18 hours. And if you're lucky, you can get about 24 hours of actual use out of an Apple Watch. And that's with normal use. That's with maybe a workout or two in between charges. But generally you're going to make it to that 24-hour mark and no more, no less. If you're lucky, at 30 hours. With the Apple Watch Ultra, it comes with a significantly bigger battery, and I believe it was rated at 36 hours, or double the battery life of the Series 8. Now, in my experiences, again, Apple likes to kind of underestimate how much battery life they are going to put in a phone or a watch. For the Apple Watch Ultra, me personally, I was getting about 55 hours of battery life. So roughly, 2.5 days or two days and some hours, which has been incredible, and for me, that's with a couple workouts in between, things like that. So workouts generally do kill the battery pretty quick because it's running the heart rate sensor and all those other sensors that are going on in there. Now, a key differentiator between the Apple Watch Ultra and the Apple Watch base models has been that action button or the side button. At this point, you can use it for a list of items that Apple allows. For me, I've initially started using it as a workout button, and what I realized is I wasn't using it at all, and I realized that I probably would use it or use a flashlight more often than I would use a workout button, just because, everyday uses, if you don't have your phone, your Apple Watch flashlight can do a pretty good job of lighting up some scenes. But either way, when I mapped it to the flashlight, I noticed myself using it at least once a day, sometimes twice a day, in lieu of my iPhone. When you think about that 2000 nit bright Apple Watch Ultra display, it is much more useful and much more bright than you would get on a traditional Apple Watch. Now, at this point, I've sung the praises of the Apple Watch, and I do have some nitpicks, and nothing crazy, nothing that's going to stop me from using it, nothing that I would consider a deal breaker, but a couple things that do bother me about the Apple Watch. First and foremost is the digital crown. Now, the digital crown and any digital crown on any Apple Watch has a tendency to get mucky, when you're sweating, it gets a little bit dirty and harder to turn. But what I've realized is that even when the Apple Watch Ultra digital crown is clean, I still have a hard time turning the crown, whether it's getting stuck on my skin. It's a little bit bigger than a normal Apple Watch digital crown, so it's getting stuck on the other side of my skin. And that little crown guard is also protecting the crown, but also making it a little bit more difficult to turn it. So, again, it's a minor gripe, it's a minor nitpick, but, being one of two ways to interact with the Apple Watch and intended to be the main way to interact with the Apple Watch Ultra, it does make it a bit of a pain that you would have to go from turning the crown, which you can go through your lists or text messages or what have you, to having to touch the screen and flick through your list that way. Now, another nitpick that I've had with the Apple Watch Ultra and just in general with watchOS is the inability to set your own custom watch face. I've always wanted a custom watch face, starting with the OG Moto 360 smartwatch that had Android Wear in there, and the ability to just set your own watch face was cool. You can just find different watch faces from different people, and obviously people get creative, and on the Apple Watch you do have some customization, but it's very limited, and it's only on the digital watch faces, and you can only use photos, so you really have to get creative in the way you make your watch faces, which I'm not really down with. I just use the standard Apple Watch faces, just because I don't like the way the other ones look. I like a lot of information on my watch face, and all the information that are on my watch faces are intended to be there for that purpose. Another nitpick of mine is the Apple Watch bands. They're extremely expensive. The one that my Apple Watch came with, I got the Alpine Loop in green. But if you're looking to buy more Apple Watch bands, I have many watch bands just because I like kind of changing things up. I'm someone who changes my wallpaper every few days. I change my watch band every few days, and I'm not prepared to spend $100 on an official Apple Watch band. But what I did find, and to each his own, people may not like this, but what I found was that on Amazon there are options that you can get of Apple Watch bands, really, but they're kind of knockoffs or what have you, in the same colors. So I have an Alpine Loop in black, an Alpine Loop in orange, and then the Alpine Loop in green that came with my Apple Watch. But they also have the Trail Loop and the Ocean Loop or Ocean Band. Again, Apple sells all of those bands for $100 on the website. Amazon, they're roughly about $12 to $13, or a 3-pack for something like $20. I'll include a link in the description if you want to get your own Apple Watch knockoff, I guess. But either way, I think $100 for the similar material, a very similar material to what you can find on Amazon, is kind of crazy. But again, to each his own. I'm not prepared to spend $100, especially for someone like me who likes to have many options for watch bands. So my final thoughts on the Apple Watch after 5 months of use is it's an incredible watch, and I think depending on the person, it could be perfect. I apologize for the alliteration, but either way, I think if you're looking to buy a new watch, whether or not the watch will fit your needs is really dependent on the person. I can't say, should you buy it? If you're asking me a question, should I buy the Apple Watch Ultra? My quick answer is going to be, it depends. What are you going to use it for? Obviously, it's intended for extreme sports. It's intended for a little bit more of rugged use. But I've seen a lot of people who I know are not into extreme sports, myself included, who wanted the watch from the start and got the watch. So to ask me, should I buy the Apple Watch Ultra? It depends. What are you going to use it for? What do you like about the Apple Watch? And can you get those same features on the base Apple Watches and save yourself some money? The reality is you have to ask yourself those questions to make the determination. If you were to have approached me on the launch day or the announcement of the Apple Watch Ultra, is this for me? Maybe not necessarily in Apple's eyes, but in my eyes, it does a lot of what I needed to. Longer battery life, a bigger casing, 49 millimeters versus the biggest 45 millimeters, and then just that big vivid display. Those were enough for me to pull the trigger on the Apple Watch. Literally the day it went on pre-sale, I ordered mine. It came in, I believe it was on September 23rd. And I've been happy with it ever since. And I've used it for basketball. I've used it for just regular walking workouts. I've walked in my neighborhood. And I've just been absolutely over the moon with this watch. I've also been curious about other watches. I've looked at the Garmin Fenix Gen 2, I believe it is, or Gen 3. It's more of a rugged watch. Again, I'm not a rugged user, but it's a bigger casing. I believe it's 51 millimeters. And I am someone who dabbles in Android as well. I play with Android, I play with iOS, and it's nice to be able to have a watch that could work in both ecosystems. But the Apple Watch Ultra fits a lot of the needs I had. It fits a lot of the criteria I look for in a watch. So again, to finish that off is, should you buy the watch or should you not? It really is contingent on what you're going to use it for and what you are looking for in a watch. If you can find the similar features or find the things that you're looking for in one of the cheaper models or the aluminum, the steel, and you find what you're looking for in there, then go for those. If it's something, more durability, longer battery life, brighter display, bigger casing, then the Apple Watch Ultra is for you. Again, $800 is nothing to shake at. It's quite a bit of money, but again, it's really what need is it filling, and could you get that somewhere else? That's going to wrap it up for this video. If there's anything I missed, anything you have questions about in regards to the Apple Watch Ultra, please leave a comment. If you liked this video, like it. If you didn't like it, dislike it. But if you really, really liked it, hit that subscribe button. Thank you all for watching, and you have a good day.